Hello there, we are continuing our Learn Chess Fundamentals from Paul Morphy series, and today we move on to the opening principle number 3, which says develop your knights before bishops. If you didn't, please check out the description box and you'll find a link to whole series down below. This will be a short introduction to this principle, so I'll just state some principles and show one very short game, and then we'll move on to the examples in the games of Paul Morphy. So what does this principle say? Well, it says that if you have a choice, you should always develop your knight before developing your bishop. Usually this principle is referring to a knight and the bishop on the same side. So you should develop kingside knight before kingside bishop, and also you should develop queenside knight before queenside bishop. So this rule is not written in stone, but you should have in mind that if you have an equal choice between developing knight and the bishop, you should develop knight. And there are several reasons why this is advisable on the principal level. So the first one is the fact that knight is just slower than the bishop. So for example, let's say this bishop on f1 and the knight on b1 wants to go to g8, for example. So how can a bishop achieve this? By how many moves does it take the bishop to reach g8? Well, only 2. 1, 2. So bishop is very fast. And what about this knight on b1? So he needs 1, 2, 3, 4 moves. So the knight is much slower, and in principle, in the chess game, you want your goal is to reach the opponent's camp. So you want to attack the opponent's camp, and you want to reach the end of the board with your pieces on the principal level. So if bishop is much faster than a knight, then it's logical that knight should go first. Okay. So this is one way why this principle applies in general. The second reason is that wandering bishop can often be a target. So if you have bishop outside very early in the game, then this bishop which is wandering on the board without the support of the knight can become a target, can be captured and can be attacked more easily than, for example, if you would have knight on f3 in this situation. Because you see this knight on f3, first of all it protects the bishop, but it also controls other squares. Sorry, but so this knight also protects other squares, and this make it harder for this bishop, for example, on g5 to become the target of attack. So this is another reason why you want to develop your knights before your bishops. And the third reason is by developing your knight you take less commitment, because a knight, in most cases, knight has only one natural square to develop and bishop has many. So for example, let's just play some moves to demonstrate this principle. I'll just okay, let's say something like this. And now you have the choice between developing your knight and your bishop in this position. So what would you like to do first? Well, if you look at this bishop on f1, it can be developed on any of these squares. So e2, d3, c4, b5. So it can go to any of these squares, and it can be good for bishop to be on any of these squares at this point. But if you look at the knight, well, this is the only logical square for knight is f3. You don't want to go to e2 then and block your bishop and your queen. You don't want to have the knight on the edge of the board. So this move, knight f3, will most likely be played in the game. So this is the least commitment you can make by moving your knight. And then this knight will be here anyway. And then you can think as the game develops, then you can think what is the best square for this bishop. So this will depend on what black plays and how the game will develop. So this is the third reason why you should develop knights before bishops. Okay, I will now show you just one game to see, to demonstrate this second argument that wandering bishop can be a target. And this game is interesting because this is, I think, the shortest game played in the FIDE rated classical tournament. So under classical times control official tournament, and the game lasted only 3 moves. This game was played in 1984 in a Serbian town called Bela Crkva. It was a Bela Crkva Open tournament, and this game was played between Zoran Đorđević and Milorad Kovačević. So those were 2 amateur players, but they were not weak players. So I think they were strength around 18 or 1900. So you can say they were strong club players. And the game went like this. So Zoran Đorđević played d4, Milorad Kovačević responded by knight f6, and now white violates the principle and develops his bishop to g5. And this opening is known as Trompovsky attack. Black now continues by playing c6, and white doesn't check for opponent's checks and captures, and he just, I guess, automatically played e3, wanting to develop his bishop. But now queen a5 with a check and the attack of this on this wandering bishop. So at this point white just resigned the game. So this was a very short game, only 3 moves, and of course this is not something you will see very often, but it is good demonstration of principle that wandering bishop can become a target. For example, if this knight were on f3, then this combination would not be possible. Okay, this is it for the introduction. I hope you like this video, and stay tuned. I will do the very interesting game by Paul Morphy to demonstrate this principle in the concrete game. Cheers.